You are now listening to Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, the voice for the people. Join Richie alongside co-host property damage attorney Hans Cannon as they bring light to the taboo world of big insurance companies, exposing their tactics and fighting for justice. Hear stories from contractors across the state. Contractor Talk, here to protect homeowners and uncover the truth.
And welcome to the show, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, live on 94.9 FM on 950 on the AM dial every Monday night, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time here out of Central Florida. So if you're if you're passing through the area, and you like what you heard today or what you're hearing today, you have a second shot at today's show, because in a few days we're on streaming, any streaming platform that you listen to, whether it be Spotify, iTunes, so many other platforms I've never even heard of. We are there. Also, we record this show and post-produce it, so you also see us on YouTube. I'm your host, Richie Kidwell. Hans Kennan is our co-host. He is not here today, or normally we would pan to him to show the dapper suit of the week. At no time will you see the same suit on Mr. Hans Kennan at any show. So I implore you to go through and check every YouTube video that we've put on our page and all the shows that we've done and try to match it up. I guarantee you're going to have a very difficult time. That man's closet is bigger than anybody that I've known. But tune in for future shows there. He is out today, excused absence. He's our in-house attorney, keeps us straight and narrow, and also adding a much different perspective than my loose cannon self, as I'm very opinionated. If you've listened to the show, you'll know just how much I am, and you'll fall in love with it. So check every show out, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. And today, a great show for you. We are, well, first let me thank our sponsor, which is the Restoration Association of Florida. We're a nonprofit association by contractors for contractors here in the state of Florida. I founded this association in 2014 with the purpose of more or less preservation in the industry, as I've seen it being attacked. Every year there was a boogeyman from the insurance lobby stating that these are the reasons why we have to raise our premiums every single year, year by year. And I scratched my head and I was like, okay, first it was a sinkhole. It's like, oh, everybody has a sinkhole, and then all these things happen. So they rallied, and I'm talking about the insurance lobby, rallied for massive change in the property insurance market, and they got it. They got law change that made it much more difficult for somebody to get a ground I forgot it, ground displacement. I'm saying the wrong word, but a sinkhole claim to be done here in the state of Florida, as that was the boogeyman. The next year, when I first started getting involved in this industry, then all of a sudden the boogeyman was the restoration industry, stating that the reason why premiums continue to raise every year is because the contractors getting involved, taking what they call an assignment of benefits, which is a tool that allows you to stand in the shoes of the insured, enabling that contractor to bill directly to the insurance company, get paid for the services, for the work and the services they performed, right? Just as they should. Nobody thinks anything different when you walk into your doctor's office, you go to an x-ray, anesthesiologist, you're signing a separate assignment of benefits every single time even when you get your auto glass done. It's like, it's free, right? You get a free windshield if it's cracked or whatever. Well, it's really not free. Your insurance company is paying a third party, but they're taking an assignment of benefits. And so every single aspect, we use it in different ways. And so all of a sudden, the property insurance market on the insurance side started making a big stink and saying, well, this is the reason why we have to increase premiums again next year. So I got involved, and so did a bunch of other folks that became members of the association. And we've then became the voice of reason and say that's really not the reason why. It's because you're overpaying yourself. So think, right after that, a hurricane hit in 2017. We had a major hurricane hit the entire state of Florida, and Hurricane Irma. And then you start to see all these premium raises, all these increases, low payouts to those storms. And you start to see like record-breaking CEO salaries. I think one of them showed that Heritage CEO at that point in 2017 was looking for a big increase, 14.9%. It was saying that they were trying to get. The reason why it's 14.9% is because anything over 15%, you have to go to a hearing in front of a bunch of people, a public hearing, to state why you need more than 15%, and you have to show off your books. Well, they didn't want to do that, so they said 14.9%. Well, that same year, that CEO was making $27.9 million a year. If you think about that, that's $500,000 a week in salary. That's crazy. And they were denying tons of claims. And so it's funny that that same guy that I'm talking trash about right now, it's real stuff, so it's really not trash, talking truth about, is now in the media again, because he's the Slide Insurance CEO that's making $30-40 million a year. That's almost $1 million a week what this guy is making in now his new insurance company. So it was in the paper reported he made $80 million in 8 years with Heritage and then parachuted out of there, started Slide. UPC goes out of business with 91,000 policies. The state of Florida decides to give Slide, Bruce Lucas, the owner of Slide, I'm not hating, by the way. I really like this guy. He's a smart dude. A little bit jealous. Anyways, but so he starts this insurance company, Slide, and the state of Florida says, you know what? UPC just went out. You're just gearing up. You just came from Heritage. Let me give you all 91,000 policies from UPC. All the claims will go to FIGA, the Florida Insurance Guarantee Association, which all of us pay for. And then all of the good policies we're going to give to Slide. And check this out. They front-loaded all of the premiums for those 91,000 policies, giving $340 million to Slide just to start this insurance company with 91,000 policies. It's either the guy's got really good luck, but you look 10 years before that, and he was the reason for the he was a CFO and part of that the big scandal that I can't think of the name of it. I'm going to circle back to that. So, what was that big? I don't know. Okay, I'll come back to it. This guy's luck has changed so much. But my point is with all this is that there has to be a voice of reason on the other side of bringing facts, bringing real world information to the decision makers, which are the Florida state representatives, the senators, even the governor. I mean, they were fooled as well, the governor's office, and the governor was really bought out with $100 million to run for president. And then all of these law changes came in with special sessions, Senate Bill 2A, Senate Bill 2D, Senate Bill 4D, all of those major changes after he got bought out. I voted for the guy twice, and unfortunately, he gets bought out and then makes all of these sweeping changes, including attorney's fees rights. Think about what you would do if your only way to get your money that you rightfully owed from the insurance company is to file suit against them. And I refer back to the recent paper articles that came out about after 1 year after Hurricane Milton, Hurricane Helene, after they made those sweeping law changes, and there's no accountability really from the insurance companies to pay a claim, no attorney's fees, no bad faith, all that stuff taken away. And so 50% of all of the claims were filed by those two by up to 15 insurance companies were denied or paid under deductible. That's disgusting, especially with Citizens being the number one. 77% of all the claims that were filed with those two storms were denied and paid under deductible. 77% of all the claims, and they own over 1 million claims out of 6.5 HO3 policies, 6.5 million HO3 policies that exist in the state of Florida. They have 1/6 of them, and they denied 77%. People's distrust is 76%, all the way down Snake Farm, Allsnake, all those guys. You're not in good hands. They're not a good neighbor, and they denied 50% or more because the laws are in their favor. And so with this bought-out governor having one more year, do we have a possibility of change this next year? I don't know. I mean, the governor's got nowhere to go. Well, he's literally, he knows that to so much to the tune that he's putting up his wife to run for governor. I mean, how dumb is that? I mean, when I look at it this way, maybe a smart move for him because he can't go anywhere else. You're the governor. You can't move up to Congress. What are you going to try to beat out Rick Scott or Rubio? Not going to happen. And so he came from Congress here in the state of Florida. That's kind of like a step down. You can't be a senator or representative. It's a step down, right? So what do? You run your wife and then you puppet her for 4 or 8 years and then maybe try to take another crack at running for president again? Idiot should have tried to be the vice president for Trump and then maybe bounced up from there. But it would have been nice for him to be out of the state of Florida, that's for sure, when I wasn't sure that he was going to be bought out the way he did. So, all right, I step off my soapbox now as I more or less talk about the reason and the purpose of why the Restoration Association of Florida exists and the voice that it creates. And today, after all the sweeping law changes, today we represent the community, right? And we always have, right? I mean, we're representing the community to build it, to help build it back after major storms. And most people that we deal with, when we say insurance-related claims, are the folks that all they have is their insurance policy. Right? I'm not even saving up for that major disaster. If a storm came by and ripped off my roof and did a bunch of damage to my house, I could not afford to put it back, right? And I have not saved for that. The reason why I feel like protected is because I pay my insurance. I feel like if a storm came and knocked my my whole house down, that I would be able to build it back with my insurance policy. And that's why I felt so confident that growing up, it was even back in the 80s or 90s or whatever, that it made it to where it mandated you have to have insurance on your home if you have a mortgage. And so it's like they put you in this spot to where you have to pay it. And now we see these executives making $500,000 a week, $1 million a week in just baseline policies, while they're denying 50% or more of all the claims filed that come through, just so they can make money off the backs of their insureds. It's just disgusting, and it's just gone out of control. So will something happen in the next year, 2 years, to change those things? We hope so. We know that Danny Perez is the Speaker of the House. He's been trying to bring this up in front of the public. He held hearings where he brought executives and held their feet to the fire, asked them tough questions, and asking for their books and their records, finding out that a lot of these insurance companies were overpaying their subsidiaries. That's why they were showing so much that, I need an increase because we're not making it. We can't pay out our claim volume. Well, it's because they'd make these other companies up, these administrative companies, to do their payroll, to do simple administrative tasks, that they would overpay them and say, that's just a cost of us doing work, and then so find out that they're profiting by the billions, and these insurance companies are crying poor and broke so they can get these crazy rate hikes. And so it's unfortunate that all of us are being pawns in this game, and made so through Florida statute. You have to have this insurance, and then what? And then now you're not guarding the insurance people, and they're just having a heyday. I swear they're just like sitting in a room like Wolf of Wall Street. They're just talking about how they're taking money from us, and we can't do anything about it, laughing about how there's no laws that'll make them do what they need to do, which is pay out claims. On their worst day, if you take them into court and they take 2 or 3 years, on their worst day, they pay what they originally should have paid in the beginning. No penalties, no fees, no civil remedy notice that would be in bad faith, no additional attorney's fees. Just if you owe $10,000, you can drag it out for 2 or 3 years and just pay your $10,000 at that point. And so that's unfair. That's not right. And we do hope that there's some change. And so we continue to be the voice. And that's what we're doing here with this radio show, is bringing this information to consumers, inviting contractors in with us, telling their story, also talking about what they do and how they can, how they're a part of this. And this movement, rather, of creating power teams of folks that will help you in your time of need, and will be able to know the right things to do to make sure that you don't get screwed by your insurance company. And I've seen it so many times where work is done, they're expecting to get paid out by the policy denies it or pays under deductible. The homeowner is then left with, I can't afford it. Now they get a lien on their home, or they get sued, or they could lose their property, or they just give up, throw their hands up, sell their property at a loss, and move on. And so it's unfortunate. So many times I've seen that after major hurricanes and storms. And so being the voice here, and now introducing it to the public, and so bringing it to consumers via this radio show, I think it's important that we all know. We're all voters. I'm a voter myself. The folks listening today maybe are hearing a different perspective. Maybe didn't know that our governor got $100 million to run for president, and then just threw everybody under the bus that pays insurance here in the state of Florida, took away 120-plus year case law, David versus Goliath, of having prevailing party attorney's fees where there's an insurance dispute. Yes, if somebody in your family passes away and they don't pay your life benefits, you used to be able to have that attorney's fees and costs taken care of, and you get your full amount of benefits. Well, that's gone. An auto accident, you would get your attorney's fees paid, and you get your full indemnity. Not anymore. damage happens to your home and you have to sue your insurance company because they didn't pay your full amount, well, guess what? You're paying the cost for experts, attorneys' fees, and not the insurance company anymore. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And so, but we talk about bringing folks together. We talk about power teams. We talk about setting new industry standards as the laws have changed, and we are expected to know this as professionals. We're expected to inform the homeowners of what's going on today in today's environment and how we can help them. And so with that, a lot of explanation of where we come from here on the Restoration Association of Florida, but it really is about networking with other folks in other industries. And today we have Jason Hinckley. He's an electrician, and so what's going on? I was going to make a crack on your jokes, like, tell me about yourself and Uncle John. And but no, it's great meeting you, and I'm happy to have you on your show, Jason. What's going on, man?
Not much. I appreciate you inviting me to be on this show and represent myself and my company.
Great. So tell me your company name and a little bit about what you do.
Sure. The company is Hinckley Electric Incorporated. We're a full-service electrical contractor for commercial and residential projects. We do 24-hour-a-day emergency service calls. We do also like to be in the remodel and new construction market for both commercial and residential type projects.
That's awesome. And you guys are here in Central Florida?
We are located right here in Central Florida on the east side of Orlando. We service Brevard County and Orange County, Seminole County, Volusia, Polk, Lake. We've even done some projects over in the Hillsborough and Manatee County as well. Awesome.
So on the daily, you say your focus is on like maybe new builds and that kind of stuff. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we do some new builds, but I'll say 80% of our work is more a service call.
Okay.
Mrs. Smith has an issue at her house because electricity is not working. It could be a GFI or breaker issue. Sometimes they've done a little remodel project themselves and they've cut a line and now they need to get it repaired.
Guilty.
So stuff like that. So just kind of the everyday, day-to-day service calls are a big part of what we do. In between that, we have a lot of remodel work for kitchens and bathrooms.
Remodel, that's where I was talking.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but outside of new builds, so the remodel work. How much of that can you do? If somebody was like saying, I'm remodeling my kitchen, what would be your scope within that?
Remodeling the kitchen, our biggest part of that is, obviously all the electrical that goes with that, relocating switches. A lot of people are taking out a wall and creating an island, so we're able to cut the slab and relocate that electric from the wall out into the island area. Awesome. Upgrade the lighting, whether it's under cabinet lighting, in cabinet lighting, or just changing sort of the old fluorescent, 4-foot fixtures and turning it into some nice recessed lighting or wafer lights that are color changing and able to create a new ambiance for the home.
All right, man. Now you're making me want to remodel my kitchen now. That's some great stuff. And so I have no creativity to see that. That's amazing that you do those type of projects. Do you help design that, or are you just involved in the process after maybe the contractor has done the design, or can you actually handle that part of it?
Sometimes we have contractors that have an interior designer that's already performed that design work. Sometimes when we're working for just a homeowner or private type situation, then they rely on us to be able to design that, come up with the ideas, present what the finished product's going to look like, and sort of give them that vision, and so that they approve it.
Right. No, that's awesome. That's great. And so, how do they get a hold of you if they're looking to have an estimate done? You do offer free estimates as well?
Free estimates, absolutely.
Awesome. How do they get a hold of you?
The easiest way to get a hold of me is my direct cell phone is 407-600-8611. It's the company number. It's the easiest way to get a hold of me. If I don't answer the phone, I'm on a project. Text message is the second best way to make sure that I'm able to give a response.
Awesome. And that's hinkley.electric.com as well, right?
That is correct. We do have a website, hinkley.electric.com.
All right. Another way to get a hold of you, Jason at hinkley.electric.com. And again, 407-600-8611. And that goes straight to your phone?
It does.
Awesome. That's great. Who doesn't need an estimate for a remodel in that situation? I think I already have a lead for you right here. Again, it's so hard to have that creativity as somebody that walks in here. I was like, man, all that stuff sounds great. So, how can I make that come to life with seeing I'm a visual person, right? So being able to work with somebody that has experience, all that is great, because you think about electricians, it's like, okay, my breaker's out in my garage, and so you don't really think of them as saying, well, I want to redo my kitchen or bathroom and maybe add some recessed lights, or now they have all those stupid C-plug things and I need to put some pop-ups and stuff so I can charge my devices on my island and stuff like that. That's why I'm going to call you. And then, all the cool people have that now, right? And so to refreshen up those things, would that be a good call for you? Somebody says, I want to upgrade all of my electrical outlets and put the little C and the USB parts in there and all that to kind of upgrade those parts in their home?
Absolutely. In fact, we just did that today at a home. They had the receptacles, right? They wanted to upgrade the receptacles in several areas to also have the USB-C and the original USB plug, but the new C one as well. But they wanted those receptacles added in several places, like around their nightstands and throughout their kitchen area, so that they could kind of clean up where they were, have a dedicated area where they would charge their phones and still be able to plug in an appliance or do something like that as well.
Yeah. The struggle is real. It really is. I have an Android. The wife has an Apple device. So it's like we're fighting off that one block. Now they changed it to the C receptor, and we have one block of that. And then I'm like, wait, I was using that for my phone because mine's now has a C to C because now it's like, wow. And then I had the old iPad that needs the Apple charger and the new phones for the what. So yeah, we need a solution for that. I think that would help us out in those times where you're totally using my block right now, my charger.
I fight my kids. I have 3 kids and it's a constant fight in our house.
That's awesome. That's great. And so, and then are you in a networking group right now?
I am. So actually, I have a couple different networking groups that I belong to. BNI is one of them. And there's also another group that I recently was a participant in, and that's the it's NIA. I can't remember. Networking in Action or something to that effect.
No kidding. All right. Yeah, I haven't heard of that one. Yeah. I was going to ask you what type of marketing that you do. I love the BNI model, the giver's gain, and being really involved. And then so the folks around you are kind of like your sales folks.
Correct.
You're pitching to them, you're giving them your elevator speech. So if they do run into somebody that then could use your services, they recommend you in that light.
Absolutely.
How's that been going for you?
It's wonderful. It's pretty much, other than when I started my business back in 2015, all I had was word of mouth. That's kind of how we got started and got built up. And as I got busy, I was not able to sort of perform or act on getting my name out there anymore. And so I was able to join BNI, and it's been tremendous. Where I'm able to do the work, and I've got people that are out there. My best people are going to be like people in the real estate industry, insurance agents, home inspectors, and general contractors, right? So they're already out there promoting me, referring me, and bringing business in dollars into the Hinckley Electric.
And so no job too small? Somebody can call you out and just say, I have a small thing to check, because I'm just thinking about realtors. I used to be a termite inspector in my past life, and so, they want everything fast, cheap, like boom, right there, and so no job is too small for them because they have a punch list, so to speak,
right?
To knock out. And but where do you start at if somebody's going to be giving you a call to come out to your home? Do you have a service fee that you charge, and how does that work?
We do. We have a base service call, which is our base service call is $150. That's just for us to show up. It basically gives you the first hour. Typically, we're able to correct basic issues within that time. A lot of times it would be like a GFI issue or a double tap breaker, or it could be just some double taps in the panel. Those are, like you say, no job too small, right? Simple GFI swap out is a very small job. Fixing the double taps in a panel for a 4-point inspection, very simple job, very small. We do those all the time, and
nice.
It's usually several times a week.
So no material involved. It's $150 in and out within the hour. That's awesome. That's great. That's great. And then they're going to send you an email, jason@hinckleyelectric.com, or go to your website, hinckleyelectric.com, or text you 407-600-8611. All right, we'll take a break. Restoration Association of Florida, sponsored by, and we'll be right back after the break. Back live, Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell, live on 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. every Monday night on this fine radio station. And then we're over to podcast there in a few days, Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you like to stream, as well as we video this and record it, put it on our YouTube page. Like us, subscribe us there, Contractor Talk Podcast. You'll find us there. And anywhere else, I think that we are listed. I'm not even sure, but I'm sure on this website as well too for this radio station. But we want to. The goal is to get in many different formats. Everybody listens, consumes differently, and what they want to. I would say us is like extracurricular, so to speak, right? I mean, outside of your normal listening. So it's someone that wants to get involved, wants to hear this information, and we're setting this up for you. Now, today, and many times of our show, we discuss things that rely on or within the insurance industry, property insurance industry, always finding ways to and cool different, I guess, just ways to help you save money on your insurance. I mentioned before, if you go to the Office of Insurance Regulations website, believe it or not, they actually have a cool tool there. I down them in every way just because they're pieces of work, that's for sure. But on their website, you can go on to the Office of Insurance Regulation for the state of Florida. Just Google Florida Office of Insurance Regulation. Now click on there. There's a space for you to go to home insurance. There's also auto insurance. And you can put in your zip code and approximately how much. I think it's like $150,000 or $350,000. They only give like a couple of cues, and it's limited. But click on one of those closer to the value of your home, what you're looking for in coverage policy A or coverage A for your policy, and they will give you a list of 20 or 30 insurance companies with what they would charge you annually, approximately. And so it's a good resource for you to shop it. Every year you should shop your home insurance. I keep thinking of like John Morgan back there, telling you should shop your insurance every, couple of years, dog bite, all that kind of stuff. But I know one thing he used to say on his commercials is he would say, make sure you shop your insurance every year. He would say in the auto market, because that renews every 6 months or every year. Your home insurance policy renews once a year. And you're only able to take 1 year to file first notice of claim, 18 months to supplement a potential claim. Not everyone notices a claim in your home right away. And so water damage could take a while to show its face. Other types of damages could take a while to show up. And so within that time, if you don't have it properly inspected, you want to ensure that not only you have a good policy, but you are checking it every single year. Last week we had a roofer with certified roofing on here, and Best Certified Roofing, and that company offers inspections, free inspections every single year, and it's just a value to a homeowner as they listen to our show to take the advice of the contractors here, and even the free work that they would do. Come out, take photos of your entire home, and tell you the condition of it. So if you do have a storm, then you know what the condition of your home was prior to the storm, and then what it looks like afterwards, so you can be able to show your insurance company for reimbursement, right? And so many times, talking about saving money for your home insurance, there are other ways to do so. And there are other types of exclusions, though, that help that kind of restrict you from getting a good insurance policy. And one we were talking offline, Jason, we have Jason Hinckley with Hinckley Electric today, and we were talking on during the break, and realizing that we get rejected a lot from from the insurance company. So, I'm sorry, we can't write you because your home is a little bit older. You either have an old hot water tank, or you have cloth wiring, or you have different type of stuff going on. Your panel box needs to be upgraded. Those types of things. We run into that all the time. And Jason, we were talking about that offline. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that, so the folks hearing. So instead of when they're changing insurance policies, they can save a bunch of money. But now the insurance companies are getting more and more demanding on saying, well, show me proof of this. Get a 4-point inspection, or get a licensed electrician to say the panel is good, or whatever like that. What has your experience been lately?
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of referrals from home inspectors and a lot of referrals from insurance agents whose customers have gotten that letter that says we're going to cancel you if you don't make these improvements. Or I've gotten referrals from those home inspectors who've gone in, they see the cloth wiring or they see the single strand aluminum. And
you mentioned double tap before. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah. So a lot of times take a shortcut, or you just take two wires, put them under one screw on a breaker, or maybe you'd be running out of space on the ground bar or the neutral bar. So you would just double up the wires up under one screw.
And so like maybe a 15 or 30 amp, and say you're running like maybe 3, 4, 7 amps out of one and only a couple out of the other. So you think, okay, I think it's safe to junk them under here because you don't have enough space in your current box. So then would that be double tapping then? They're kind of putting two circuits into one?
Correct. Yeah, you're trying to just consolidate some space because you're trying to make room for something else.
Right, and that's a no-no.
It is, yeah, because you've got two wires up under one screw. It gives you the potential that you're not going to have a good connection on one of those wires. It's going to start to arc or have resistance and heat up, which that's going to cause a fire or some sort of a dangerous situation.
Wow. And then with that, then they're saying, and then you get these referrals, and what is your resolve at that point? I mean, especially on the cloth wire thing, there's really no way around that. You just have to run new wires, right? I mean,
correct. It's a situation where you've got somebody who's trying to sell a house who now has to undergo a large construction project because they're going to open up walls. A lot of times when they get to that process, they've already repaired those walls or put new paint and done some sort of improvement already to the home, and now they're being told, hey, the wiring behind those walls isn't acceptable, and now you have to replace it.
Oof. On an average 3-bedroom home, 1 bath, what does that look like to replace? Maybe 1,500 square feet home, 2,000 square feet home?
Yeah, a 1,500 square foot home, you're looking somewhere close around $30,000.
Ooh, wow. And most people aren't have that in their headspace of saying, if I go and sell my home, this is something, especially in 1950s, 1960s. Would you say that's like the cloth wiring time?
Yes.
So if it hasn't been renovated,
and
that'd be a big concern.
Absolutely. And then you've got the Vietnam era when they were using the aluminum wire, so they could use the copper to make bullets. That's where you find a lot of those homes have the single strand aluminum. Yes, again, like I said, those 40s, 50s, 60s homes, that's where you're getting that cloth wiring. Homes earlier than that, we have a lot of areas down in the Lake Eola and Colonial Town area that have some knob and tube that we still find in some of those homes.
Say that again?
Knob and tube.
Bless you.
So, and it's an absolute no. You can't use that. It's open conductor wires going through an attic.
Wow.
And it's like going to a museum when you see it, but it has to be fixed, and it's an expense that people aren't prepared for.
Wow. And what's the most common referral that you get from the home inspectors or the insurance agents?
Absolutely, the biggest, or the most common. Yeah, most common referral would be upgrading the panels, outdated breakers.
So because there's not enough room in the panel?
No, they're just made by companies that at this point, insurance companies will not provide a policy for certain outdated or companies that aren't around anymore. So they won't insure those panels. They're known for having electrical issues, causing fires. So because they've had to write too many claims on those, they just won't insure them anymore.
And what's the average cost to replace your panel?
You're looking around $3,000 to start to replace your panel. A lot of times now, in addition to having to do the panel, those older homes only have a 3-wire system where there's 2 hots and a neutral, and you don't have a true ground. So now you have to you don't have an ungrounded conductor, we'll say. So you have to add a brand new service cable as well to that panel, which has to come from the outside meter. So it creates a much bigger project.
Yeah. Now, if somebody's like pre-planning, if somebody's listening today, said, I am looking at selling my home. Well, my home is kind of older. Do you offer an inspection or something you can come out and kind of help them pre-plan for that?
We do. I work right along with a lot of home inspectors, or even with brokerages, real estate brokerages that call me ahead of time before they get a home inspector out there, and they ask me to go through and look at maybe an addendum that's been presented to them, or they ask me to just do an inspection on the home and say, hey, what are some things that might come up that we can address now so it doesn't pop up on that inspection? So we do offer that service as well.
That's great. And do you charge for that?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's because it's usually an in-depth inspection. We're there for several hours, and a lot of times it's little things that we'll be fixing along the way. That we'll see something with the GFI or the GFI in the garage, or I should say, the GFI on the outside of the home isn't tripping the GFI in the garage. So we make sure we make those corrections right there on the spot.
That's great. So it's like a full electrical inspection, very focused on the electrical side.
Correct.
Obviously. No, that's great. That's great because that's one thing that I don't like to mess with. Right? Is electrical and plumbing. I don't understand any of those things. So so for me, I'll try a little drywall. I'll call the drywall guy from hole in the wall, fix it. But I feel more confident in that. Electricity, I just don't at all. So you definitely want to refer to the experts for sure on that. And so yeah. Tell me about like just a crazy time that's something that you just you're just scratching your head about. Maybe just like one of the most, I don't know, memorable jobs that you've been a part of.
I would say, the most recent memorable job that I have is one that we've been on. It's been a little over 2 years. It was a situation where when the customer called me, they had already been on this project for a year. They had called in a restoration, they had a fire. Called in a restoration company. Some things went bad in that situation, and basically the house sat unoccupied for a year, unattended. The situation was just getting worse and worse and worse. She had contacted me to try to get the power restored to the house so that she could get a different company to come in there and begin trying to do the restoration. I was getting a lot of pushback from the county trying to get the power turned on, because it had been a fire situation. We were able to do that. I was able to get her Restore Now restoration company to come in there. They took over and handled all the insurance things for her, handled everything for her. I was a part of the electrical process of that home. And so, like I said, it was just over 3 years after she had originally been out of the home.
What kind of stuff did you have to do to get the power on? Did you have to make sure that there was nothing that could arc and create a fire? That could be crazy, especially all the stuff you can't see behind the walls and in the attic. So
the first thing that we were able to do was we disconnected the electricity that was going into the home. So we were able to establish a power point outside the home with GFI protected receptacles, so that the restoration company and the remediation company had the ability to plug in the air scrubbers and all those different things.
And then just run the extension cords inside of the house.
Right.
Good idea. That's smart. I wouldn't have thought of that. That's why you do what you're doing.
That's right. And then we were able to do stuff inside.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's Jason Hinckley with Hinckley Electric. We're going to take a break, give some thanks to our sponsors. We'll be right back. Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell. All right. And we're back live on Contractor Talk with Richie Kidwell every Monday night, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here on 94.9 FM, 950 on the AM dial. If you're just tuning in here locally, you have another shot at listening to the whole show. In a few days, we'll be on Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you like to stream. The video portion of it will also be available on YouTube in a few days. Like us, subscribe us on our YouTube. Contractor Talk Podcast is where you'll find us there on YouTube, and anywhere else you like to stream. Check us out. Every show is a different guest. It's a different look on things, I would say. Like I've learned things today that I did not know being in the contracting world. And one thing we're talking about offline that I'd like to share with folks, especially if you don't know, and Angela, you made a good point here when you asked about like, hey, if somebody wants to just add a breaker or something like that, do you need to call the county? Is there permitting involved, and what's involved with that? And we have Jason Hinckley with Hinckley Electric today. He's the president, and can offer some value to that. So what is that answer? Like if I just want to simply just I have some room on my electrical panel, can I just throw in a breaker and install it, or I need to get the permit, have you come out? What do I do as a homeowner? Yeah,
if you're looking to add a new circuit in your home, you have to get the county involved or get the city involved, whatever the municipality that's in your jurisdiction. You have to have a permit pulled to do that work. They're going to come out. They're going to make sure that the contractor has done that job properly. It's to help protect the homeowner, make sure that they are getting the work done in a safe manner that it's supposed to be done. And then it also helps you certainly when you're going to resell, sell the home. I know that a lot of buyer agents will pull a record and they'll see that, has the house been there usually is something from the seller saying, hey, we've updated this, or we've made this, new addition. And then they go and pull a record, and there's no permit. There's no record of that being looked at. And that can become a problem for a homeowner. So that's why it's always important to make sure you're getting a permit when you're doing those kinds of projects.
Right. And that's a good point. I mean, most people, even me, when in my early 20s, I bought my first house, I thought, as long as I'm not adding an addition here or messing with the roof, I don't need to pull a permit, And so that's not true. And so you do have to pull permits. And just like you said, it's a value added to your home. So when you do sell your home, it's like a record. It's like a, what do they call that when you're looking up your car, like Carfax or something, right? That's like your house facts, so to speak, right? I mean, it tells you the upgrades that you've done in your home, and you want to be proud of that, right? You want to stand a little bit taller and say, I did get the permit, I did do it right, and it's documented. And so, and that's obviously something that you do in every day in your course of your business, right? Pulling permits for folks to add these portions to their home. Is that right?
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So,
and it, like you were saying, also even for the seller, right? So I just mentioned that, protecting the buyer. As a seller, it is the ability to not have to give a concession, right? That you're able to stand, like you said, stand there with pride and say, this is a beautiful home. I've taken a lot of care in it. I've made a lot of additions and upgrades. And here's all the proof it was done properly and legally. And, the county and the city has signed off that this is, a great home that is worth the value that I'm asking you to pay for it.
That's right, especially in today, and just the weird market that we're in. And if anybody's listening and wants to buy a house in Punta Gorda, let me know. But the market is just not great. So by having those records, I think it's going to help your chances of getting a good value. So it's a good point for that, right? I mean, and we look at the rates as it may or may not fall, and that will help me sell my house. Let's go. But as we get ready for storm season, hurricane season's coming in the state of Florida. It's really June 1st till the end of November. The end of Thanksgiving is our storm season here in the state of Florida. So always be prepared and get your inspections done now before the rebuild process gets going, right? I'm sure you get super busy after those times where contractors and folks are getting you out there to get repairs done in a very short amount of time. It's important now to get these inspections done. So is that something that you offer as well within that, like say an hour or 2 hours to have you come out to my home in a pre-listing situation? We mentioned it before, but I guess I just want to harp on the importance of getting a pre-inspection done. And what common things would you find normally if I have you come out and inspect my home prior to a sale?
Sure. So a lot of times when we do come out for those type of inspections, you're finding those double taps right away. You're finding the open junction boxes in the attic. You're finding just flying splices, wires that have been spliced together with no box at all.
Are they called home runs or something? And is that where like some boxes or some wires come together in a junction box or something and go on? I could be saying it all
right.
But.
I mean, you take the home run from the panel to a junction box, and then it branches off to different, different switch or a different outlet in a room. But for the most part,
sometimes those aren't done by somebody licensed or that's permitting it. So sometimes that stuff could not be right.
Right. It's somebody's done some remodeling while they lived in the home, and somebody may have used a method that was less than safe, and so you find it and you're able to repair it, fix it, and make it so that it's just one of those things that you'd rather know about it and fix it rather than it kind of popping up and being embarrassed by it when the buyer's the buyer's inspector goes in there and finds these issues. If those little things are already taken care of, it's just one less thing that they can bring up to kind of like say, give you an embarrassing moment of, I didn't know that was like that. Oh, there was this too. And you kind of or escape those situations.
Right. Yeah. Because I never think of in a pre-storm inspection to call an electrician, obviously until now, to get a real hard look, a real close, fine look at my home as it relates to possible issues that could come up that could cause a fire or just out of code or out of date, or God forbid you find that you have wiring that's aluminum or cloth covered, that kind of thing. I experienced that myself in Pensacola after Hurricane Sally in 2020. I quickly bought a house in Pensacola and we stationed out of there, did a lot of work. And then when I go to resell resell it, now then it was told to me that it has it like is beyond me how I bought the house and it was fine, but now it's my problem that I bought it and now there's this wiring. Well, it was really half the house was the original and they added on. The add-on part was the wiring was new.
Right.
The old original part with the cross space and all that, like original 1950s, was all this old wiring. So I had to update the other side to the new side. So huge expense. Luckily, the guy that was buying the house, all these deals fell through because of that. And of course, I didn't know until then, an electrician was going to buy the house. And so we made a deal for some concession off of there, and then he can do the upgrade. But I was not going to be able to sell my house because of that. So you brought up a good point. If you find out ahead of time, you have a little bit of room to or more time to figure out what I'm going to do. Am I going to get a loan to fix this now, or am I going to slowly, work towards getting that done, or do it like I did, try to work it out at the end with the buyer to give concessions on that on the upgrade. Now, speaking with that, have you worked with realtors and then offer that upgrade prior to the sale, and then try to help them out with the proceeds of the sale? Is that something that you've done?
Absolutely. So a lot of times we get approached by a realtor who has a lot of substantial electrical work that needs to be done. Several times it's been a whole house rewire, and that person's just not sitting on a large sum of money to be able to pay for that. And so what we'll do is maybe take some sort of deposit up front that they can afford, so we can get the materials that we need for the project, and then we get paid at the closing, right? So
that's awesome.
So the invoice is given to the title company. Title company ensures that we're upon close of the house, we get paid. So that is definitely something that we offer to our customers to help them be able to make those improvements, get the sale they need, and we're able to get the job and do a good job for them. Something I was going to say to you, you were talking about things to do prior to a storm. Everybody, the 3 days leading up to the storm, decides they want to call and they need to get a generator hookup installed in their home. So I always like to tell people, do that now. Do that outside of hurricane season. Do it when there's no hurricane on the way, because like the last hurricane that we had, I think it was Milton, I was actually out in Milton till 9:30 that night hooking up and trying to find pieces and parts to give people the ability to hook up their generator. It was kind of funny because I got home late. I decided to work late for that specific reason. I was like, I can't wait. I'm going to sit home and watch that storm tomorrow from my house. Well, I got in late. I went to bed. I woke up, and it was a beautiful day. I guess it came in through the night, and I didn't get to sit back and watch the storm. I was out in the storm.
You were in the storm helping people out.
Yeah.
A lot of people lost power from those storms, and that's great advice. Now, one thought that I have is I hear people of saying, "Oh yeah, it's easy. You take your generator and you put the plug ending so you can take that power and plug it into your dryer receptacle." And I'm like, I don't know if that's exactly accurate. So how does that work?
Right. So I would not do that. I mean, are there ways that you can do things to backfeed your house? Absolutely. Is it safe? No.
What
not
do you
at all.
recommend to folks that are listening?
And you can and it's not that you just hurt yourself or have a problem in your home. You can hurt the utility workers out on the line. Right. That's why, again, these generators installs need to be done properly, and they need to be safely. They need to be inspected. For that reason, if you just backfeed into your home and you don't turn your main breaker off to your house, you're going to be sending power back out to the utility. So during the storms or just after the storm, when these guys are out there trying to get power back to your neighborhood, you could create some serious damage to somebody because they're not expecting lines are down, poles are down. They're not expecting electricity to be on those lines. They should test for it. But a lot of times, like you said, post-storm situation, it's a lot of get this done. We got to get these neighborhoods back. People are calling, why don't I have power? So they're under the gun. They have a lot of pressure. But as a homeowner, yeah, it's best to have the install for the generator to be done properly so that you're bringing power into your home and you're not sending it somewhere it's not supposed to be.
So, and what is that? Is it a special outlet that you plug in? There's
a special outlet that you put on the side of the house. You can use what's called a generator or an interlock kit that goes on to the panel where the breaker for that receptacle you cannot turn that breaker on without the main breaker being shut off. So it's kind of a piece of metal that slides inside, on the surface of that panel. There's an automatic transfer switch, which is a little bit more money that can be installed, where immediately when the power, utility power goes off, that automatic transfer switch kicks in, your generator kicks on, if it's an automatic generator. But if you manually turn it on, at that point, it will allow the generator power to flow, and it'll cut out that utility side, so you can't backfeed into the utility.
That's awesome. And what's the average cost of that install?
So they range. I would say you're looking anywhere from, when you're dealing with a generator, on the low end, you're probably somewhere at, if it's just the electrical part of it without the generator, you're looking around $1,500. If you're looking to have a generator installed and the automatic transfer switch and a whole system like that, it depends on the size of the house, but it's probably going to be somewhere, around $25,000.
Yeah,
it could be 17, but 17 to 25,000.
That's the whole house, like Generac type of kind of thing. But you can get like your $700 like generator that you can pull and start yourself.
Correct.
And then plug that in, and so that plug-in cost is maybe around $1,000-$1,500 to get that in there.
Right.
And get that done ahead of time. So that's great advice. We have Jason Hinckley with Hinckley Electric. Give him a call or text 407-600-8611, hinkley-electric.com. Thank you so much for being on the show today. A lot of good information there. Don't mess with your electric by yourself. Give Jason a call. That's something that I need to tell myself. Now, if you want upgrades, you're fighting over the blocks there, it's another reason to give him a call to add the outlets to your island, the kitchen, your bedroom, anywhere that you see fit. You guys do all that design work and install. I think that's fantastic.